If you believe in something, fucking go for it. You know, if you fail, cool. Either keep going or try something new, but never give up.
What's up, guys? Happy Friday. It is 3 o'clock. We are here with the guy that knows everybody, Tal Cooperman, aka Tallywood. I don't even know if we do LinkedIn nowadays, but you're involved with so many companies. Let's just set the table. What companies you're involved in? Let's start there, and then we'll go backwards.
Involved in Rescue Water, Truff Hot Sauce, and the Palms. I've kind of walked away from pretty much everything and anything I was involved in other than that.
And why is that? Focus?
Yeah, I was always like, I totally want to help you. And yeah, I want to do this. And yeah, we should do this and that. And then the next thing I know, I'm like so involved with like so much crap that I was like, I can't do this anymore.
That sounds like the same problem I had until recently.
Well, and I will say this, and Ethica is like still a huge part of my life too. So
for people watching, Ethica is an underwear now. It's now
it's everything. Yeah, it's
everything
all
now.
sports gear. Like they're heading for that Under Armour business. You know.
You have quite the resume, though, man. I mean, besides those 3 companies, man, you've done it all.
I've tried to.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward from. I didn't even realize that you were born in Israel.
I was.
So let's go from Israel and then up to LA. How was it like growing up in Israel? And tell us about your 2 brothers, which we know very well, especially Tommy and Tom. What was that like growing up with those fucking psychos?
Yeah. So I was born in Israel. Moved to New York first in 1988. My dad figured that he couldn't do shit there, so we moved to LA within like 3 weeks. Moved into the valley, like Sherman Oaks area. Lived in an apartment for about 2 years, and then moved into a little nicer side of Sherman Oaks. This is before Sherman Oaks was like cool to live in. You know, it was like you still didn't want to like be outside.
I didn't even know there was apartments there. I just thought it was
there was.
rich houses.
No, it's right next to the miniature golf right there. There was definitely apartments. I don't even know if it's there anymore. I haven't been there in forever, so it's probably nice like condos now. You know. And we lived there up until I want to say like 6th grade. I moved to Agora Hills, but up until then I was in 5th grade. My parents, you know, my dad did okay when we got here. Like it was pretty rough still. You know, we came from Israel with 0 money. You know, but my dad made it work, construction, and then went to private school. Figured out my dad figured out we couldn't afford that. So, but I will say this that private school. I learned English in like 4 months. You know, it was very awesome. You know, I remember the first time I met my teacher, it was like, hello. That's the only word I knew. You know, it was like, hi, hello.
That's wild.
Were you a good student?
Is your second language?
English is my second language. I still speak, write everything in Hebrew. You know, better than my brothers can do. They could speak it, but I read it and write it as well.
Love it. So Jeff just asked you, did you do well in school, or were you a troublemaker? What was it like?
I've never done well in school. I did good in art classes, but that's like, you know, once we got to like middle school or like when I got to high school, all I ever did was art classes because I was so bad at everything else. So, you know, my art teachers, they were all trying to get me scholarships and stuff. But even with scholarships in high school, my parents still couldn't afford to send me anywhere. You know,
it was like my parents, man.
Yeah, like, you know, my mom, like, I remember Art Institute here wanted to give me a scholarship, but like my parents still couldn't even like, it still wasn't like registering.
See, I got art scholarships and still didn't go to art school.
Yeah, I didn't.
I just couldn't. I didn't see myself like thriving in like
my friends were moving, like once we were done with high school, my friends were moving to San Diego. So I was like, man, I want to move to San Diego. And like all I was thinking about in San Diego was graffiti, you know, because I was like, man, it's like all the guys I looked up to, they like, I remember there was like a time they were all painting in San Diego. So I got to go to San Diego and I got to paint. And
who were those guys you're looking up to?
It's like Revoke, Push, you know, Fable, Bless, Tyke, everybody from like MSK and AWR, the 7th Letter crew, you know. But that was, you know, I was already a part of all those guys. So like, and like they weren't even like people I looked up to. It was just my friends, you know.
To give context to the audience, 7th Letter, they're what, the most iconic?
I would say the 7th Letter, AWR, and MSK are like the most iconic graffiti crew of all time on the West Coast. You know, I would say even worldwide. You know,
Are they still in Fairfax or no?
Aaron has like his gallery that he owns, and I think they do pop-ups up there. Him and Casey Clips, the founder of all those.
Mm-hmm. So I read you were trying to, you obviously like doing graffiti, and you try to get in that one book, and you always look if you were in it. Which book was that? But like growing up, you try to get.
Oh no! So growing up, like you look at Subway Art. It's like the Bible for graffiti. So like, you're always like, man, like I wish I could have been in this book. It's literally like when you like if you grow up and listen to rock music, you got to get Back in Black, right? Like that's the one record you need if you're gonna learn music. And growing up, like people in other countries too, like they don't have internet. Right. So like that one book was like, it's the Bible. Right. Yeah. So it's like, it's really cool.
And then we'll obviously get into what happened next.
Yeah.
And your next art venture, obviously with the Palms, but all right. So right now you're in high school.
I'm in high school. Okay. Well, in middle school, that was fun. Right. Like I was fucking psychopath, just like literally still already started graffiti, with some of my friends. And then skateboarding, and then I met Aaron. That's like one of my best friends still. It's like 20 plus years of just being inseparable, right? And we were just psychopaths. We had like no rules.
Doing what? What does a psychopath mean?
I mean, just fights, doing graffiti, just, TPing houses in 6th grade, like in the middle of the night, like just not caring about anything. We didn't care. Like I grew up at Aaron's parents' house, like I'm always close with my parents, but no disrespect to my family, but like Aaron's family like raised me. I like grew up in his parents' house, like literally, like I was the best man at his wedding. He was the best man at my wedding. We did bar mitzvahs together. It's
shout out Mr. and Mrs. Levon. He didn't even tell us that.
Allison and Brian.
So when I think of you, I think of all these pockets, whether it be surf, whether it be fashion, hospitality, and you've infused art into it. Yeah. So you're passionate about art. You're in the art scene. When do you get into business? What's that step where you get a first quote unquote job?
So if you ask people, they will always tell you like, I don't know where Tal really worked, like just always like a guy that knows I started working in like when I was 16, the first like job I ever had was at Gypsies and Thieves.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
That's GAT. It's like a streetwear brand. One of the first West Coast streetwear brands, everyone thinks it was like the Hundreds or Diamond or whatever. It's like, it's not. It's, there was Fresh Jive before, obviously, and before that there was GAT, Third Rail, companies like that. And Louis Polito, I never got paid. I was a little kid, didn't care. I just wanted free clothes. Literally, I was just like, I just want free clothes. I just want to wear this stuff. It's the coolest shit in the world. I'm going to be fucking cool. Everyone's going to love it. No one's going to know where to get it, because you couldn't like, there was only certain places. I don't even know where GAT was being carried. And it's before like Aaron got involved in there. And then that turned into like Green Apple Tree. And that turned into a very like popular band or brand. And,
so you were just helping in
I was just helping, ways going to like trade shows, setting up booths, I think I was even at the first Coachella. I swear to God, I just don't remember. I just remember Aaron and I were at some booth working it, and I want to say it was Coachella. Because Aaron and I got like so freaked out there that we took a Greyhound home, like 16 years old. We have no idea like what the fuck we're doing. So that was Gypsies and Thieves was like the first like, me like folding clothes, just doing cool things that I thought were cool because I was like hanging out with the guys that I wanted to do graffiti with. I looked up to those guys. I've known Casey Clips since I was 15 years old. It's like he's been like a father to me since I was a little kid. So that was always really cool. He took me under his wing for a very long time. And then from there, I got Aaron his first like job because Aaron was a complete fuck up. I'm sure he told you guys that. He's not lying. Everything he said to you, he's not lying. He ran away from one of those two boarding schools. He got kicked out in 9th grade. He did like 3 days in 9th grade and just out. And I took him to Green Apple Tree or GAT. And he fell in love with it. It like changed his life. He like right there and then the story is so much longer for him with that, but that's what like triggered Aaron. He was like, he took it real serious and he fell in love with it. And taught everything himself, taught himself the computer. You know, he was just like, I'm going to like do this. And obviously Aaron's story is so beautiful and what he's done.
Both
you know?
like to see how you guys started there. And then
he went that way. And then I moved to San Diego and I got an internship over at Tribal Streetwear. And at the time Tribal was so big, you know, it was like the coolest like streetwear brand, right? Cause it had like Fred Durst and Korn and everybody wearing it. And it was so cool. And my in with that was like, well, I have a band that's going to blow up. I can get them to start wearing stuff. And they're like, well, what's the band's name? I'm like, Linkin Park. And they're like, no one knew who they were, right? Like,
and what year is this?
This is 2000.
And guys like that, like when I look at, you know, your Instagram, I see all of these old iconic, you know, punk and alternative bands.
Yeah.
Like someone like Linkin Park, how'd you meet them and how do you keep that relationship?
Brad, the lead guitarist, I was friends with his brother, Jeff. And Jeff was like, Tal, like, you always get like all of our friends cool stuff. Like my brother's band's about to blow up. Like they're being played on K-Rock. Now I was a hip hop kid in high school. So in my head, I was like, fuck rock. Like, what are you talking about? Like Beastie Boys is as far as rock goes for me, you know, like my first concert ever was Metallica. Like, but in my head, I'm like, those guys are like that. They're gods. They're not like, there's nothing new in rock, you know? I was like, okay, cool. He's like, my brother loves Tribal. Do you think like you could hook it up? So I was like, let me see what I can do. So I don't remember the place that they played in San Diego, but I remember talking to Bobby, who's the owner of Tribal, who was also one of my mentors. I was like, Bobby, this band, man, like, they're going to like be big. He's like, I'm like, I think they're going to be like, I don't know if they're ever going to be like Korn big or like Limp Bizkit big, but like, we should hook them up. So I'll never forget. I don't even know the size, right? Like, it was like 30 inches by like 10 inches, like a couple t-shirts and whatever, you know. I'm not lying. Like within 3 weeks, like it just went from like Linkin Park is just a band playing 400 seaters because that's where I saw them playing to like arena, like overnight. Now the band put in a shit ton of time with like to keep the name going, right? But like Brad and Mike and everyone started wearing Tribal on the cover of every magazine, and then I was like, oh man, there's a business in that. Like.
And this was like early 2000s.
Product placement didn't really exist. Like
I was just gonna say that it looks like you were doing celebrity placement before.
It didn't exist.
And did you know what you were doing at that time, or were you just being?
I just wanted to be. In my head, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not getting paid like at all. I didn't even know what money was. I was like, this is something. I don't know what, but I'll just keep doing this. And then me and Mike from Linkin Park got really close, like really close. Like Mike is like a brother to me, you know, for over 15 years, you know, like and Brad, you know, the whole band, man. Like they've like, I would say Brad, Mike, and Joe, like took, you know, they've done a lot for Aaron and I our entire careers. Anything we've ever needed, they've been there. Like anything we've ever asked for, they've done, you know, and vice versa. I was like, this is crazy. And then those guys would introduce me to other guys, and then the other guys would introduce me to other guys. Next thing I know, I'm on tour with people. I completely dropped out of whatever community college I was going to in San Diego, and I was like, I'm gonna just hook up these guys. But then I started doing other trade shows, you know, and I started meeting more people. Then my friend's dad was like one of the founders of Freestyle Watches. I don't know if you remember that company, but like it was like the Shark watch.
Yeah, I remember that. The first time I met you was actually at a trade show when I was with Brian McDonald.
Yeah,
and he introduced me to you.
Right.
But yeah, they were big on those watches, obviously.
Yeah, so like my friends, I was like, do you want to work for us? So I like said I know how to use a computer to do graphic designs. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. You know, I was just like, I just got to get free watches to more people, right? So like they didn't pay me. I didn't care because in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to rape the closets and just start sending them to people. And I started sending them to like the My Chemical Romances, the Hoobastanks, the Incubuses, you know, and I just started becoming friends with those guys. And like, then I started getting into like the hardcore scene for all those like bands. And then Warped Tour that whole hardcore scene got even bigger. And then I became friends with the Avenged Sevenfold guys. And then, you know, that's like a whole other level of like the new kings of metal, you know, and Jimmy, the drummer, and I became best friends, you know, and he passed away a few years back. And, but that band is my family, you know, like we're like, this is like 2006. I don't even remember when the record came out, The City of Evil.
One thing I want to talk about is, for us from like a networking and a relationship perspective, there's always, going to be the guys that are big. But I think when I look at your whole entire story, I think the key thing is you basically invested in Linkin Park before they were Linkin Park.
Absolutely.
How important is it to kind of reach for the stars with the big relationships, but also invest in the new and up and coming people?
If you believe in somebody, if you believe in a brand or a band or anything, right, that you think that there's going to be, if you see something there, I suggest to keep following your path and just, invest everything in it. And I'm sure we'll get to it with the Palms, same with Truff. It's like, I'm a true believer in a lot of these brands. And listen, I've had a lot fail, like more fail than, but that's just what keeps me driving. You have to fail to succeed.
I mean, you could ultimately say kind of Linkin Park might have been like the first touch point that opened you up to this whole entire world.
I mean,
and they weren't even big then.
I have the plaques to prove them, like some bands can't pay you, right? So they'll just send you a platinum plaque to your house. It was to the point where my parents were like, what the fuck are these? And it's like, it's just like, it's kind of a way of a band telling you like, we appreciate everything you do. The problem is with Linkin Park, they sold 100 million records and I have every plaque they've ever gotten. So like I have a library of plaques. But that's like just one band. Then I have so many platinum and gold plaques. It's one day I'll have this awesome house where I could like show it all off.
I do remember that when they came on the scene, there was that one album that was jam packed with like 6 or 7 songs.
The whole record. That record
smashed.
I think sold 40 million records, and then the one after sold another 40.
I used to listen to that shit before soccer games. That shit amped me the fuck up.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's still, when you put it on, you'll hear it and be like, fuck, Chester passed away, and that was a sad day. I probably, what's crazy? A crazy story real quick is
Give us the crazy story.
No, I was in San Diego for the Del Mar Open. And the next day I was going to see Bobby from Tribal. Now, this is the first brand I ever worked for. The first real brand I looked at. I know Gat was the first one, but this was the one I actually like took pride in. I just remember I was telling my wife, I'm like, I want to take you to this warehouse, show you like where it all kind of started, right? And she's like, oh my God, yeah. And like we're driving up, we're about to pull up, and my phone starts I just start getting texts from randoms, right? And all it says is the name and the messages, right? And one of them was a buddy of mine named Moose, and I look and he's just like, I'm so sorry, bro. And I was just like, I didn't even want to open the rest. I just went to like TMZ. I was just like, I don't know what, because if someone like that's texting me, I was like, I got to look it up. And then, I saw that Chester passed away. But the craziest part is I was pulling up to the place where it all started with the band that started everything for me, and I cried for hours. I cut our trip short, and my wife's never seen me cry like that.
I'm sorry,
I was on the plane just like, everyone's like, is this kid okay? I couldn't hold it in, one, it's the first band I ever worked for, and 2, the singer for that band and that entire band did so much for me, that you can't and I looked at him as like my hero. Chester Bennington is to me one of the best singers to ever live, of my time, so it was a lot.
Yeah. I agree with that, especially in that little niche, that category. So you're bouncing around. I guess you're doing product placement for a lot of these bands. You're connecting dots. I feel like the common theme is you don't really have a job here.
No, I still don't have a job.
You're just hooking everybody up with everything.
Shout out to Brian Dunlap. He doesn't even know that I did this, but he had a product plate, and that's the guy that owns, at the time he owned Maddox and DVS Shoes and Lakai and all these brands, right? One Distribution. And he had a guy that worked for him, and I became friends with that guy, and I was doing his job for him. I didn't care. I just was giving bands shoes, hats, fuck, if Aaron was here, he'd be like, that's exactly what happened. I didn't care. I did not care. I just was like, the bigger and bigger it was getting, I understood that someday all this will pay off. I need a favor from something. I just was like, it'll pay off.
It's funny you say that, because
that's like Mark.
It's a conversation I have with Jeff all the time.
Right.
This motherfucker is like, oh, why are you getting coffee with this person? Why are you getting this with this?
Right.
I tell him it's called the compound effect.
Yeah.
It takes 6 to 8 years for it all to pay off.
Right.
And there's so many times where a random deal has happened, and I'll be like, Jeff, remember 3 years ago?
Nothing's paid off yet.
Shut the fuck up, bro. Shut the fuck up. That's happened a lot. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Gary. It's just give.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, it all comes around. And I also think another big thing that can't go unnoticed is when I moved to California, this was probably 5-6 years ago. And
Yep.
I jumped right into the, like, you could say, action sports
Yeah.
street scene.
Yeah.
Right away, like, you were one of the guys. It was like you, JJ Little Hefe, Eli Webby, who was doing
Yep.
placement for like Pink
Oh,
Dolphin,
I
who's
love
now
Eli.
with Warwick.
Yep.
Bear, who was like the paintball. And it was all these guys that were just the guys that knew everybody.
Yeah, man.
And that can't go unnoticed. Automatically, you're put on the map as someone of value. So what's the next job that you go into?
So
Quote unquote job.
fuck, man. Then it goes into Reebok. I had like a Reebok phase, you know, and
Did not know that. Tell us about that.
Had a friend named John. You know, he worked for Reebok corporate. They were opening a store at on Robertson. I think they were paying like $100,000 a month. Like, it was just,
Jeez.
so, you know, it's Reebok. You could burn money. And I started just kicking it there every day. You know, just hanging out. Started bringing people there. You know, and then like started giving people shoes. And but I don't remember what happened, but I was one day I was with Casey, founder of Seventh Letter and, you know, the AWR and MSK crews, and he's like, dude, we should do an art show here. I'm like, yeah. So like I like got together with some of my friends and I did an art show where artists would just draw on shoes. And that was cool. We had like a huge impact. And my friend John was like, man, that's amazing. Like, look how many people and some celebrities came. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Then Casey was like, I have an idea. We should do an art show. Let's try to build this budget. And it was an idea for Reebok to be the title sponsor. And we were going to do this art show that was called Letters First. And it would just spell out letters first. So, you know, an artist would get an L, another artist would get an E, and then so on and so forth. And we sold Reebok on it. They were like all about it. And like our invites were like a gallon paint bucket. And in the paint bucket, you get like a Montana can, a t-shirt. Me and Aaron like got Zoo York to partner up with us. Zoo York, like we got
What a fall from grace, Zoo York.
Yeah,
Zoo
right?
York was
amazing
at one
brand,
point.
right? And they made skateboard for us, so you get a skateboard with the invite. Like, it was a collectible item, man. Like, Casey was always so good at like the detail, right? Like any like little thing you could like, people are, what is this? You open it, and it was just so fucking dope. Like even the opener, right? Like it was like a Seventh Letter. Like it was before Seventh Letter was even a brand. We were just like making little trinkets so people could like keep it, right? And we had that show, and that was like a massive success. With that show, for years, you know, Casey had that traveling the world, and it became so big that it was like he spelled out the world's famous Seventh Letter crew. Like it was so, and then it was a click clack, the world's Seventh Letter crew, because every artist in the world wanted to be in, and it had like all the top dogs from the Retinas to the Revokes. Like everybody was a part of this show. So that was Reebok.
So was this like the start to your like the art kind of pursuing?
No,
art?
because I've been a part of street art, I guess, or graffiti since I met Revoke, and I have been friends, you know, since I was 15. You know, so I'm
But like,
38.
was this your first, I guess, art venture?
Yeah, I would say this is like the first time there was like, you know, I was 22. That's crazy. You know, 20. I'm 38. You know, so
that's nice at 22.
yeah, like I still had no idea what the fuck was going on, like at all. The world to me was just like, you know.
And at this point, you've been in LA for a long time.
Yeah, my whole
and
life.
this network is starting to get very strong.
It's getting strong. Meeting more and more bands, you know. And then one day I'm trying to make sure I don't fast forward. I'm sure I have, but Sean Neff and I became friends. And Sean gave me I would say my first real paying job, like a big one, you know. And
that was to do what, celebrity placement?
It was everything: marketing, you know, product placement, you know, get some deal like cool like collabs done. And Aaron actually contracted up my whole deal with it. You know, Sean and him, you know, met, and you know, and that was a good like, cause I'm too nice, right? Like I'm the kind of kid that's like, I'm like you, Cole. Like, you know, let's just I'll do it for free. It's all good.
You want to work for us for free?
Yeah,
I'll allow it if you want.
But it doesn't happen anymore. You know, there's a huge price tag with it now. But now I'm like, or like I was at the time, I was like, fuck it, you know. But Aaron's like, nah.
Yeah.
So we met with Sean, and I signed a year contract with Sean. I think I ended up working there for 2 years. But one of the biggest deals I brought Sean was Deadmau5 and Neff, and that for Zoomies was probably the biggest thing they've ever done, you know. And
for our younger audience, Neff Headwear, I would say, was at its height probably 3-4 years ago, and they were cranking numbers.
More
I don't
than
even
that.
know.
I would
Sean
say
Neff is a happy man.
Neff was
Twice.
popping like
3-4 years ago.
I would say it's
yeah.
been a 10-year brand, but you're right. It had a moment where it was like,
yeah, I would say like 6 maybe.
yeah, 6.
Yeah,
it
actually,
was the West Coast
It's 'cause
culture, young.
Yeah.
When I was with Mel, we actually took 2 of their designers because they left.
I remember Trip.
Yeah,
remember
a
that.
couple of them left and
I
worked
remember
with
that.
Trip's
us.
cool.
Hey, shout out Trip. I don't know how the fuck I just remembered that.
But you
shout
know,
out Trip.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, people always talk shit, you know, like about like a Sean Neff, right? Because they don't know him. They're like, oh, Neff is whack, but it's like Sean's laughing to the bank like 18 times over anybody that I've ever met in our industry.
Tell us one thing about Sean that nobody knows.
It's not there's nothing out there that no one knows. Sean is, you know, he's a family man, you know, so to me, Sean's one of the biggest bosses out there. You know, he's you know, I just read an interview in Forbes where they called him like the brand whisperer, you know, and I really like that because like Sean and I are very similar in ways, you know. I don't have any kids or, you know, or anything like that, but I grew up, you know, Sean was always there for me, you know. He's one of the most solid dudes I know.
Do you know who his career mimics a little bit to me is Buscemi. How they did something, they flipped it, and now he's on. What is he doing now? He's doing something.
He's got Beach House, which is it's a company that, you know, they help startup brands that were famous people, right?
Isn't he doing something with Kylie Jenner?
He is doing something with the Jenners. It's called Moon, and then he's got something with Millie, the girl from Stranger Things, and I know he's working on a few other secret projects that are gonna take over the world. It's just, but like, he's just nonstop, right? And before that, you know, like you'd laugh at Sean. He's like, I'm gonna go meet with Pharrell, and I'm like, what? Next thing I know, him and Pharrell are like best friends for a minute. You know, like he's always Sean's a hustler, man. It's never gonna be enough. Sean could retire if he wanted to. He's not ready to do that. You know.
So at this point, you know, tell us about the importance of network for you, because I think at this point now, you had, you know, the pop rock alternative,
right,
and then you're getting into this. You're really emerging into the mainstream streetwear world with Neff.
Yeah.
And at this point now, you're reading rappers and stuff like that.
So at this point, I mean, it was to the point where it's like, in all honesty, Aaron's like, you just need to come be with Agenda, you know, and Agenda was still super young at this point. You know, it's like, you know, Agenda was probably one of my favorite chapters in my life because I got to see, you know, Aaron, when I jumped in, it was like at 150 brands. You know, when I departed, it was like at 1,500. You know, so I'd like to say that I was a part of that whole, you know, like helping Aaron get it to, you know, I mean, when we were there, our office was smaller than this. You know, like it was 7 of us. You know, but Aaron was always the brain. You know, it's like that. Like that's when life really started. You know, like Agenda. You know, it was like Aaron and I and his cousin Seth and Kellen Roland, our best friend from growing up. Like that was like, it was insane. That time was so good to be alive, right? Like the Hundreds was just about to blow up. Nick was just about to blow up. You know, Crew, Ruka, like everybody was just like, there was something there, but ASR was still going on. You know, and
ASR was the competitor.
Action Sports Retail.
To Agenda. For
yeah. Well, they were a company that laughed at Aaron.
Yeah.
You know, Aaron was like, when Aaron started it, he wanted to work with them, but they were like, nah. He's like, well, I'm going to start a show across the street. And they're like, you do whatever you want.
That worked out nice.
Yeah, it worked out well. I was there the day, you know, they tried to buy Aaron. You know, it was just me and him in Orange County.
You think Streetwear is dead?
No. I think everyone needs to chill out a little bit, you know, with like with what they're doing. I think people are forgetting like what they were in it for. I see a lot of change like right now, like, and I think it's not just streetwear. Every brand, every Forever 21, like it doesn't matter. H&M, like right now it's all about like licensees, you know, which is like, to me is like, it's fucking dope, but like, I loved the brands before, but the problem is I think it's not the brands, it's the kids. You know, I think the kids these days are just like, Did you see this collab?
Yeah.
You see this collab? I can't talk shit because I'm, we'll get into it. Like, I'm one of those guys that's doing it, because it's like, that's just the movement. That's where things are going right now. So
our brand is huge with licenses and collaboration.
Right.
It's been huge for us.
Yeah, of course.
Just, I can't tell you, like right now we're doing a collaboration with Rory Kramer, who does photo video for guys like Bieber and
Rory's
James
great.
Bond. And he literally, like, I'm literally on the Instagram and I'm seeing floods and floods of new followers coming in. I literally am looking at some of the people and they're like iconic humans that are coming in that he's bringing into our ecosystem. So
that's great.
I agree with that. I think that might be a little oversaturated. I just think that a lot of these people took their purchase orders from some of these outlets that they shouldn't have taken. Like maybe go to Zoomies a little too early, or the Tilly's or the PacSun a little too early.
I'm one of the, in this entire ride, I started 2 brands, right? One of them was called DCMA, and I did that with Benji and Joel Madden and Aaron and their brother Josh. Those are the guys from Good Charlotte. We had a brand. Aaron put a lot of money behind it, and it was like right around the time Famous was going on with Trav, and Trav's a super close friend of mine, and I was always intrigued by like Trav had his like own thing going and just crushing everyone, his all over prints, his boom boxes, the Famous star.
At that point, he was the biggest brand.
Oh yeah, he was printing money. My
friend
friend Bill was helping run that brand, and it was amazing. So we were like, Benji and Joel wanted to do something, and they were super close friends of Aaron and I, and we did pretty well. We did good, and then that kind of Aaron and I needed to focus on agenda, and Benji and Joel wanted to focus on their own thing, and it was all good, and then I started a brand called Carousel, and I spelled it CRSL. And I was still super involved with agenda, but I was also wanting to do something like this, and that was a fun moment, and maybe I'll bring it back with my brother Tav, one day.
Please.
Tav.
Yeah, that's my brother.
What's the biggest thing that you've learned with working with these celebrities?
Don't work with them.
I like that answer.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Just if you want to keep being friends with them, don't work with them. Just keep it as just be friends.
It's tough to work with friends. It's.
I lost a lot of friends along the way. People have tried to help my whole life. And somehow you become the bad guy.
It's the worst when you have good intentions and you just get put in these weird spots.
Can't tell you how many times I've made Aaron like stop being friends with people, or vice versa. Like we just, Aaron and I are like, the only thing missing between him and I is blood, and like it's no matter what, we've had each other's backs like that.
Me and Jeff are in a great situation. We're business partners and family, but we're like not friends. We don't hang out. We don't talk.
Good.
I've known him for 9 years. We don't even go out and hang out.
You shouldn't.
I don't
We're
even
doing
know.
this. What do you mean?
He could have a girlfriend right now. I don't even fucking know, bro.
Right.
No fucking idea what's going on.
It's the girl I met earlier outside. No.
Lives right there. I live right here. No fucking clue what's going on.
Right.
And it's worked amazing for us.
That's amazing.
So I completely agree with you on that. So then what's coming next after Carousel? Then are you starting to?
I'm starting.
You're getting involved.
Actually, like now it's like real life's like happening, right?
Yeah.
Like I meet my future wife. I do the second trade show in Vegas.
Are you in Vegas at this point, or still in LA?
I don't remember. No, I'm not actually. No, because I remember we stayed at the Palazzo my first time. But my girl was living here. I was flying in and out, and I didn't want a title, because we didn't even talk about the whole chapter of my life. But
how was it like dating Carmen Electra? Just give us a quick synopsis on
She was cool, man.
Yeah?
She was cool, but she was super nice. One of the nicest people I've ever met. At the time though, I started dating my wife, Abby. And then like, I don't remember what happened, but I think I got scared. It was more me, and I ran away for like 3 months, and I was dating Carmen, or she'd like to say we didn't, but don't even get me started on that.
It's okay. You're in a good spot.
Yeah,
now.
no, it's
Shout
fun.
out.
Yeah, no, obviously, my wife is like, she's my soulmate. So, Carmen was super cool. There's some funny stories. Have Tav on here. He'll be happy to tell you all about it. And
do we really want that?
Yeah, I think you should. It'd be funny. But it was cool, But I woke up real quick and realized that I'm getting older, and I think it's time to chill the fuck out. And I ran back crawling to Abby. And
at this point, at your early 30s, and what is it, like 2005?
Yeah,
2015?
Yeah, something like, fuck, no, because Abby and I have been married for 4 years. We've been together for almost 7, so.
2010, 2013.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Something along those lines. It was Coachella, I ran back to her, and I just waited for her birthday and did a little surprise birthday at my best friend Hetty's beach house in Malibu, and Abby was all tripping out because she was like, "What the fuck are all these people doing here?" You know, and then I got on my knees and proposed to her, and Bobby Hundred's got the best photo of the night, you know, and that was it.
So this next chapter, you're getting involved in the rescue waters, the sauces of the world, and what are you looking for in these companies, the entrepreneurs, the idea? Tell us what you're looking for, because at this point, I think you've been involved in a lot of things. Like you said, some have failed, and I think we can all agree that Sauce is doing pretty fucking well. That was a good choice. That one.
You know,
what is it? What made you get involved with a company like that?
Aaron and I have always wanted to do a hot sauce brand. Like always, it's been our dream. We were always like, we're gonna do this. You know, his mom, you know, she had an amazing recipe as well, you know, to do something. But the one thing I will say is Aaron and I are that busy. You know, like I'm in LA today. I don't even know if I'm gonna see him. You know, and that didn't used to happen, right? And I don't know if we would have been here today, like hot sauce guys, if Aaron didn't find Nick and Nick. You know, we don't have the bandwidth, right? Like we don't have like people that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go and like you guys just keep doing your thing, and I'm gonna get this hot sauce brand off the ground.
Those guys are two grinders.
But fucking Nick and Nick, they are those guys. And Aaron found them, and he called me, and he was like, I fucking found our guys. You know, and he's like, this is gonna be amazing. And I was like, okay. And I remember he told me about it, and then I flew out and I tried it, and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be insane. He's like, and Buscemi is a part of it too. I was like, yes.
It seems like literally it was like all meant to be. Like the way he talks about it, you talk about it, and how they talk about it. It's as if like it was just gonna happen.
Man, I've literally been talking to Nick and Nick all day today because I surprised them with a video with and obviously we'll get to the Palms chapter in a second, but I became really close friends with Michael Simon. You know, he's like the king of meats. You know, top chef, like
king of meats,
the man himself.
King of meats.
You know, and he did he did like a video for me because he loves the brand, and I was like, he's like. We can't do this like this, Tal. Like, I'm just a huge supporter. I want to help you. And I'm like, one day I'm going to give you one of those big checks, Mike. Like, you know, like, and I surprised Nick and Nick this morning, and they were like fucking tripping, you know, because it's a big deal, man. Like, Michael Simon is like, it goes like Bobby Flay, Michael Simon, Mark, you know, like
shit happens like that when you have a good product.
Yeah, man. And, you know, I can't like Truff is like I'm so blessed because I know one day someone's gonna be like, how'd you make all your money? And I'd be like, fucking hot sauce.
No, that one's definitely gonna go for a lot. I mean that category is so dormant, and you guys come in with the at sauce, beautiful packaging, and the sauce doesn't suck.
God bless Mrs. Winfrey. You know, Oprah has been a huge supporter.
Wow,
You know, we just second year of making her, you know, Oprah's favorite list. And that like destroys our website every time. And we were just on Good Morning America. Like Entrepreneur just wrote about us. Forbes just wrote about us. It's like, it's the craziest thing. I can't explain it. I love being on this roller coaster with these guys. Nick and Nick are, you know, I don't think if me, Aaron, or John had these guys, it'd be like this. You know, these kids they're the real deal. You know, and I'm ready to give them my entire address book if they needed it. You know.
It's funny you say that because I do remember the first time I saw the brand on Instagram. Yeah. There was a lot of familiar faces in your network that fucking exploded. I remember it was just one day where it went from non-existent to this is a brand.
And it's just the beginning because, you know, Aaron's portfolio is getting bigger and bigger daily as well. So it's like me, him, and then John, you know, at the same time. It's like it's the tripod, you know, Three Musketeers just sending it to everyone. And, you know, and us having the Instagram handle sauce doesn't hurt either because people are trickling on that whether they like it or not. So
cheat code. So your network is going from music, fashion, art, and now you're talking about chefs. So you're getting into the hospitality business now. So let's talk about Palms, and to set the stage for people listening, the Palms in the early 2000s, I think was probably one of the most iconic hotels in Vegas. The Real World, it was crazy there. And then in the mid 2000s, when I went there, I felt like I was in a third world country and I was going to get stabbed and robbed.
It was Gotham City.
It was absolutely terrible. I'd never seen it go down so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And now it is beautiful, and I think you have a lot to do with it. So let's talk about how that came about and what the situation is there now.
Yep. I moved to Vegas. I wasn't doing much. You know, I was still like had my little side hustles going and just making, you know, Rescue Water was paying for me to be out there. Red Bull launched in Vegas, you know, in America. So we hired people on to do the same thing. So I didn't really have to do much. I just had to get it to my people to make sure everyone was happy, start getting it in clubs and hotels. Rescue Water was just all of a sudden it's everywhere. You go to Vegas, we're everywhere. From the airport to all the little kiosks in the hotels to the rooms, like I did my job. And I was getting bored, you know, and I was like, fuck, man, I got nothing to do. You know, I really don't want to start painting again or anything like that. I just want to do something cool. So I hit up my friend Brian, who is a managing partner over at Dre's. And he's like, man, I would love for you to come in and, you know, do some real marketing here and help me with marketing. I really need some help. And I need like a face guy like you, you know. And at the time I was like, Victor Dre is somebody I've looked up to my whole life. And I used to work for him when he had Dre's in LA. And I've known Victor since he owned Excess. He was the founder of Excess at the Wynn and Trist when there was Trist. And so I had a meeting with Victor, and Victor's like, I want you to start working for me. I said, absolutely. So I did 9 months there. You know, it was an awesome experience. You know, they had everyone from The Weeknd to Fabulous to, you know, Migos. You know, it was awesome. And for me at the time, Aaron was about to launch Vegas. So it was like perfect timing because like Aaron would do all the parties with me. You know, and Agenda was such a big deal, and
you're leveraging all the celebrity,
everything. You know, and
another cheat code.
You know, and Aaron and I, again, making sure that we were always together, and you know, every party was with me no matter what. Like, and it was like on the craziest off days, right during the week, no club would work, but Aaron would bring thousands of people. I would bring in acts like Travis Scott, The Weeknd, stuff like that, and it worked out great, and it was awesome. I did 9 months there, and then. I got an offer to go work for another company, and I was gonna, you know, my lawyer started looking at my deal, and I was gonna become, you know, a director of marketing for another company, and I was about to sign, and I went to like a Shabbat dinner at my friend Lior's house.
Hey, Jew gang, you know? Baby.
Yep. And I met his brother-in-law. His name's Patrick, and he was I didn't know who Patrick worked for or anything like that. He's like, what do you do? And I told him, he's like, oh, do you like art? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you know this guy? And it was somebody I know really well. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh man, like, yeah, we're going to buy some of his stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I work for Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta. And I was like, oh shit.
Who are they?
I'm like, no, I knew exactly who they were, but I was like, oh fuck, that's awesome. You know, I'm like, congratulations. He's like, oh yeah, you heard about that? I'm like, who didn't? You just sold the UFC for $4.7 billion. Everyone heard about it. And he's like, yeah, we just bought the Palms. And I was like, fuck. That used to be the spot, you know. I used to live there, you know. Like one of my best friends, John Gray, you know, he used to run it. You know, Aaron and I met John Gray in 2006 when we launched our first brand, and he's like, yeah, what else? And I was like, man, he's like, what would you do if you worked there? And I like was like, oh, I would do this and this, and obviously you need like a nightclub and this, and you know, maybe some art. And he's like, okay, and he like fucking showed me his phone and like had John Gray on the first list, a couple other people I named, and he was like, you guys are on that list. I'm like, what list? He's like, we're gonna try to hire all of you guys. And I was like, right. And I just froze, and I was like, well, I'm about to sign a deal. He's like, don't sign it yet. I'm like, okay. So a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and then I called John Gray. I was like, yo, I think the Fertitta family is gonna make this place like really cool. And John at the time was working for Nike, you know, corporate. And he's like, well, that'd be nice to move back home. Especially, he's like, fuck, can you imagine if we bring back the Palms? I was like, that'd be so sick. You know, because we knew it was a shithole. But for us, you know, like George Maloof was like our god, you know, when we started going to Vegas, or at least me, you know, George like was everything to, you know, like honestly, like, before my wife, I was married to my high school sweetheart, and that just didn't go good, obviously. And George let me live at the Palms. You know, like
George was the owner of the Sacramento Kings.
And his brothers. Yep, the Maloof family. You know, and I was like, okay, cool. And the next thing I know, we're getting those calls. We start, you know, I get hired to come in and like come in for the club that they're gonna build. And I was really excited. I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. And like, I just remember like the first 2 weeks, right? I signed my deal. everyone's really nice to me at Station Casinos. You know, it's a 40 plus year old business, you know, family owned. We're publicly traded, but it's family owned. The brothers like own the majority share. I'm just like, I remember calling my wife. I'm like, this isn't it. I'm like crying to her, you know, I'm a crier, you know,
A crier.
and I was like, this isn't it. I think we got to move to Israel. She's like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I made a bad move, you know, and I just couldn't. And I also, when I left Dre's, I left on bad terms. I didn't tell Victor. I ended up telling Brian and someone else. And I was like, I'm going to go to Israel. When I come back, I'll tell Victor. Victor found out before. Victor never wanted to talk to me again. So that was weighing really like heavy on me. And I was I just wasn't there. And one of the people that helped bring me on, like, I don't think we were seeing eye to eye. You know, he's still somebody I look up to. I don't even want to name his name. It's still someone I look up to, and we're cool. But it wasn't working out. I wasn't feeling it. I knew I was be able. I could do a lot more. And then, a couple weeks into that, like, Patrick was calling me into a meeting, and he's like, "Hey, the brothers are gonna talk to you, and you know, just whatever you can help with, all good." And I was like, okay. And we started talking, like, it had nothing to do with the club. It was like more of like the rooms in the hotel and and I was like, oh. And I start seeing all, like, you know, people are presenting, like, you know, what the rooms are going to look like. And I'm like, I don't know how to shut up. So I was just like, ooh, you know, like, that's not right. You know, and then they're like, what? And I was like, I don't know. That's what the art you're going to have on there? And they're like, yeah, you don't like it? I was like, I don't know. I would just do something better, you know, or like, and they're like, okay, well, what would you do? I'm like, I don't know. Give me a minute.
I would spend $600 million.
Yeah, right. And at this point, I think what we were spending was like 135, right? And it's all out there. It's not like it's a secret. And
135 million?
135 million was originally what we were going to do.
That's still a lot of money.
Do
Yeah.
you want to know what the craziest thing about that? I don't think people see the underlying.
No, they have no idea.
They don't see the underlying value behind it. That
No.
you guys are actually buying into probably appreciating assets.
Yeah. So like we bought the hotel for $315. I mean, don't quote me on it. It's something around that number. What we bought the hotel for. And I was like, okay. So like I start helping with that. I start saying like, I know a little bit about art. And then it was like, well, how much do you know about art? And I was like, well, what kind of art? And they're like, well, what do you know about this guy or this guy? And they're like showing me like people I've known my whole life. And I was like, everything? like what? I'm like, everything. Like, I have letters on my stomach that represent a crew that, like, you know, like that, like, I'm like blood with these guys. And they're like, oh. And next thing I know, they're like, well, okay. And then, you know, the one thing that sold people like me and John on this project was like seeing like a little lookbook of like where the Palms was going. And the center bar was designed by Damien Hirst, you know, and I was like, is this real?
We got to pop that up. The dope shark.
So did they actually come to you with that, or you're like, no,
they created it. It was already created. Like Damien and the brothers, like they already sat with the team, and you know, and I was like, is this happening? And they're like, yeah. Is this really Damien Hirst? And they're like, yeah. And like at the time, I didn't know how much Frank and Lorenzo loved art, you know, and I was like, oh. And then I got to go to the corporate office, right? And like there's like our corporate office looks like a museum. Like you walk in and there's like, you know, there's like a white like dove by Damien Hirst, and there's probably the biggest Damien Hirst painting ever made, like of the dots in the corporate building, you know, and Jeff Koons, and you walk up to our third floor and it's Murakami, and it's just like it's mind blowing, right? Do
you know another thing that you guys did, just to interrupt?
Yeah.
Is you walk in, and right when you check in, I forgot what that one-liner is, but it's over the check-in.
Yeah, wish you were here.
Yeah, wish you were here.
So that's one of my favorite stories.
And immediately you're getting Instagram moments. Like that's the big thing. When I always go there, I'm always on my Instagram story. I'm just posting everything I go there. And I think that's something that you guys had the foresight to know that we're moving into that world. So what was the strategy with that? Was that in the strategy?
So we started meeting, me, Frank, and Lorenzo, and Kellyanne Fertitta, who's Frank's daughter, and Albie, who's one of our in-house designer like for Frank and Lorenzo. He's one of the best. Albie is a guy that did a lot for my career, and I don't think he will ever know, right? He's just one of the most solid dudes ever. And John was a part of all this. We just started looking at like little areas, and I was like, hey, like the more and more I would start talking to the boys, like they would just like, okay, well, what do you want to do here? You know, and I was like, maybe we do like a neon sign with, you know, and Patrick, you know, who works for them was like, we got to work with this artist named Olivia Steele. Like, look at her stuff. I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. And I was like, but maybe like, I'm like, something like, Kelly was like, we should use clouds or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, my friend Keegan Gibbs, he shoots clouds. Like all the photos on our iPhones, you know, that's him. You know, he's a photographer for Ruka. He's a pro surfer, you know, whatever. Like it'd be rad. Next thing I know, we like mocked it up. And I was like, if this is our front desk, this, like, we're going to be the most Instagrammable thing. And I hated saying it, but it became the whole thing. Me and Kellyanne, you know, she understood where my head was at. And, I would say, you know, I got to give it up to her. I don't thank her enough. Like Frank's daughter was a huge part of me. Like let Tal run wild, you know, that front desk, believe it or not, that took me 6 tries to do. The first time it was still blocked off with construction and you couldn't see the sand clouds or the dust clouds. So like when they put up the glue to put up the photo, it would just be bumpy, and we were like, oh my God, it's the dust clouds. Take it down, sand it again. Baby's butt, you know, just like super slick. Did it again. Once the walls were down, didn't work. You know, the seams were like, you couldn't see them, but if you got up close, you could see them. Bubbles. Like, I swear on the 5th time, Frank was like, if this doesn't work, we're not doing it. And I was freaking out because I was like, I know this part of this hotel. Like, we don't need an LED screen right here. Like, please, like, we can't do that. Every hotel does that. We just need the most simple shit ever. And I promise you, phones will always be out. And the one thing I will say, like, no matter what time of the day it is, you will always see someone taking a photo right there. Because the whole thing that Kelly and I were thinking was, like, every boyfriend, every girlfriend, every mom, every dad's going to send it. Like, I wish you were here. Like, I wish you were with me, experiencing whatever it is I'm about to
Especially when you're
experience.
checking in, which is the most exciting part of the trip.
It's right before we take your money. You know?
The crazy thing, that the common theme throughout is you're tapping into, you know, you're talking about this clouds photographer from years back, Gray from 06. It's wild. I always thought when I was growing up that it was, you know, how am I going to access, you know, this guy and that guy? And it's always about the people that you come up with.
Right.
Because those are the people that you can actually rely on. It's fucking nuts, dude.
Dude, it was honestly, man, people like Anthony Kiris, who owned Library Street Collective, or Roger Gassman, you know, they helped me so much through this entire process. It was beautiful, man. Like, everyone was hands-on. I wanted an artist. If I couldn't get a hold of them, you know, Roger or Anthony would help me, you know, from, you know, when we did Green Street, you know,
which is, like, I think that's one of my favorite restaurants I've ever even been in.
Thank you.
Not just because I'm an artist, but,
you know, thank you. Like that, the boys were like, run wild, you know, because it was all street art themed. So like the cherry on top was when, you know, the family was like, well, we have a Banksy, we should put it in. I'm like, there's no Banksy in Vegas. Like, so we put it in, and that made the craziest headlines. You know, people were making fun of us in the beginning. They were like, oh, art, that's going to be your guys' thing. And like, then people saw the headlines we were getting. Now every hotel, and it's not talking shit, but like, we weren't the first, because Steve Wynn definitely, like, he put Jeff Koons in his, you know, like the Bellagio, he had the Picasso stuff, but like,
those are onesies. This is your identity. You guys are,
no, absolutely. We're a mini museum. Yeah, we're a mini museum that you can walk around for free. When you walk into our hotel, you see that the Unknown bar, right? Before you even enter the hotel, you have the Adam Parker Smith balloon letters that say Palms. You look to the left, you got the Benedict Radcliffe car. Then you got the front desk. You look to your right now, we just put the double Elvis by Andy Warhol. You know, you walk into our High Limit, and there's stuff there. You go into our Pearl, the theater in there, you have Felipe Pantone. Then Josh Videz did the church for me. The cashier, you know, Timothy Curtis. Like, it's just like bap, 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 bap. You go to Scotch 80, you have a 8-foot cause, you know, sculpture. You go into the bathroom at Scotch 80. You have Scott Hove, who did one bathroom that looks like a cake, you know, for the girls. You walk into the restaurant, you have like original Basquiat's. That doesn't happen, you know. People have prints. The family I work for doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
Well-
the Scotch 80 room is
So tell everyone about the hotel rooms, because obviously you guys made headlines
Yep.
there.
Yeah, so the Palms used to be known for the suites back in the day, right? Like they had, I don't even know what the names were called, but
Like,
they were
was it the Playboy Suite?
Yeah, the Playboy Suite, the
Well, now
G
it's-
Suite.
The new one's called the Empathy Suite.
Yeah, we have the
right?
Empathy
Yeah.
Suite, and that was designed by Damien Hirst. It's the most expensive suite in the world. It's a 2 nights minimum stay at $100,000 a night. And that comes with pretty
Damn.
much anything and everything you ask for. Joey Yalda, who is our head butler for the property, he represents a bunch of people, but he is like famous. I posted, like, there was a write up about him the other day. Like, it was awesome. Watching,
100,000 guys.
yeah, 100,000. It's a thing. But we have a bowling alley suite. The Kingpin Suite's $20,000 a night.
All right, tell us the craziest night you had in Vegas.
It had nothing to do with me working for the Palms.
Yeah,
he's married, Jeff.
I want to
We're
hear.
trying
I want to
not
hear
to
the
get him in
craziest
trouble.
story.
I mean, but some of the craziest stories I've ever had were with my wife. Like my wife and I she's literally the girl version of me. She parties.
That's scary, right there.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, it's scary.
So where do you see the Palms going in a year from now and 5 years from now?
I think that in a year from now, at least, people are going to start following a little bit more of our trends. We want to be, chef focused, restaurant focused. The Pearl, which is what used to keep the Palms alive. Which is our amphitheater, like mini amphitheater, holds 2,700 people. We have big shows. We did Billy Idol this past year. Blink did their first residency ever. They did it with us. And that was a huge deal, man. Like, shout out to Travis, for believing in this project. And he had my back, him and Mark. Like, I can't even explain. I would say because of Blink, agents took the Palms and Pearl serious again, and I'll never forget that, ever. Yeah, and those shows were sold out every night. It was amazing. It was they took a chance. They were gonna go do it with someone else, and I flew into LA and met with Travis at Nobu and showed him what we were doing, and he was like, I'm in. Because Travis and Mark are huge art collectors, and they love what we were doing. So
Loyalty wins.
yes,
Where do you see
always.
Vegas going? Because I think the DJ wave is kind of, I don't know, it hit its plateau.
Yep.
Where do you think the next thing Vegas does? The
Latin
big
acts.
thing? Just Latin acts.
I think. Well, I mean, there's obviously. I'm saying in that, if you're asking me like
In the
nightlife
nightlife
wise,
world,
yeah.
I think Latin is
Yeah.
the most. It's another thing people were making fun of me of when we had the club and we were doing the most insane nights and numbers ever.
It's funny you say that because your brother knows. I don't know if you know the Papas and Beer guys.
I do a top just nonstop.
Yeah, they're destroying it
Yeah.
with like the Bad Bunnies of the world, and they
yeah,
literally,
Bad Bunny was my resident. Ozuna was my resident. J Balvin, Anuel. Like it was.
and they're saying those guys are outperforming all the rappers.
They are. I know. Open Polestar up. Bad Bunny is making like 1.3 million a show.
Jeez.
Damn.
But
People
it's worth
forget.
it. He's that good.
All right, you're busy, so we got to get into the piece.
Oh, yep.
Taking care of you, bro. I'm trying to get you to your next meeting right now.
I like it. Oh shit.
So this piece, why'd you pick it? What does it mean to you?
Besides being a foodie, because I know you love food.
Well, it's because I'm
Yeah.
a foodie.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah,
There
no,
we go.
because when growing up, and don't take this the wrong way, but growing up, I used to see this behind the mac and cheese, the Kraft ones. Like this just reminded me of that, and I was like, and when I had zero, I didn't even know you had to put milk in that motherfucker, and it would just be the mix and that, and and the macaroni, and I would just be like, why doesn't it look like the photo ever? I didn't know you had to put a lot of butter and a lot of milk.
Well, if you
in that
cried
shit.
in it,
yeah.
then maybe you could.
Yeah,
Your own tears.
But it reminded me of that. Like I am doing very well now. Or as well as I can for now, and I just saw that success, nutrition facts, and I was like, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that the mac and cheese nostalgia is what brought you that piece.
But
I
swear to you,
that's
that's
a
what it
very
was.
fucking unique answer.
Yeah.
I didn't expect
Yeah.
it. So a lot of our followers are entrepreneurs. They're young guys looking to chase their dreams. What is the best piece of advice that you can get everybody watching from someone that started from you're born in Israel, English as a second language, and now you're, doing big things. So tell me what you think.
I mean, just follow your dreams. I'm still reaching. I haven't even gotten anywhere where I want to be. I've seen my entire squad become successful, and and we're still all inseparable, and we still all try to help each other. I would just, if you believe in something, fucking go for it. If you fail, cool. Either keep going or try something new, but never give up. You know, like don't get bummed, man. Like I have 2 brothers, right? And you guys know Tav and Tommy, and my youngest brother is going to be a billionaire before I know it, because he doesn't know how to say no to anyone, but he does it in the right way. Aaron and I, you know, we paved the way for him to be successful, and he's 24 years old, and he is running circles around dudes on Wall Street, you know, and it is amazing to watch. You know, he had his first pop-up the other day, and 3,000 kids showed up, you know, and I've never been more proud of him. I don't say it to him. I don't need to, you know, but he's a psychopath, and you guys know how crazy he is, you know.
Yeah.
And,
We do.
yeah. And my other brother, Tommy, man, like he's just traveling the world being a DJ and super successful. Made the top 100 list for DJs this year, you know, and last year. And he keeps getting higher and higher. And, you know, it's just, he's a kid that was verbally abused and beat up his entire life. Those guys you like hear about when you hear Korn and all these people in bands saying how they used to get beat up, like that was my brother, and he never told me about it because I'd probably be in prison right now, you know. But he's successful, and I'm so proud of them. And you just got to keep going. You got to believe in it.
Cooperman brand.
Yeah.
Very strong. So where can everybody find you on social media?
Just my Instagram. I don't really have much else. I have LinkedIn. We're friends now.
Oh yeah, we are friends. I was very intrigued by that. I was like,
Yeah,
this guy's
yeah.
adding me on LinkedIn. He's leveling up
I'm
in
a
the,
fossil,
in
dude.
the
I
professional world.
don't even know if Tom knows what LinkedIn is, man. You know, so it's just Tallywood. You know.
Awesome,
Nice.
man. Amazing
Cool.
episode.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
guys.
coming on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, man.
Thank you so much.